As long as I can remember, I've been making art. Over the 40 years I've been making art, I've done everything from jewelry design and fabrication to furniture design and fabrication. And in the last 20 years, I've kind of narrowed my artistic focus to sculpture. Stone, metal, and glass work, both studio work and site-specific public and private commissioned work. I find myself drawn to materials I use now for several different reasons. I think the stone is an outgrowth of my upbringing here in New Mexico, growing up in the family with an amateur geologist and archaeologist. I spent a lot of my childhood wandering through the wilderness, picking up stones and artifacts, and I have a real fascination with history and geology. And the other thing I like about working with stone is it has a sense of timelessness and a sense of strength and solidity. And it's a material that, as human beings, well, Homo sapiens have been working with stone for 2.5 million years. I think it's really in our DNA. It's a primal material. I love the use of glass in architecture and art glass, and I like the qualities of glass, the fact that it's not a solid, it's actually a suspended liquid. It moves very slowly. It's kind of a unique material in that sense. I like the way it brings light into the glass and into the stone and metal, and brings life to those materials and a quality they wouldn't normally have. It symbolizes life and energy, light. The other thing I like about it is it reflects the viewer, so you become part of the artwork. As you look at the piece, you can see your reflection and the reflections of surrounding materials, and you actually become part of the work itself. The metals I use for a lot of different reasons. We've been using metals, it's a very primal material. We've been using those for tens of thousands of years. What I like about metal is it's a more additive material as opposed to the stone, which tends to be subtractive, meaning, I'm usually cutting away the stone, I'm exposing what's inside of the stone. So those three materials in combination, I think they speak a lot to our architecture, our history, our cultures. I mean, they're really just very basic materials we've been using for a very long time. I'm just finding ways to reconfigure them. I've been working on a new body of work the past couple of years, and it's kinetic work, and it's a new thing for me, and I'm really excited about it. What I wanted to do was find work that was quiet, that was beautiful, and that reacted to the environment in a really intimate way. And I came up with this concept of the kinetic glass within the grid structure. And I love this work because it's so responsive to the environment. Any little movement in the sun or in the shadows or the air, and the pieces come alive. If it's a quiet day and there's no breeze or no wind, they become very quiet and static. But as soon as things start moving, they start moving with it. So they're very responsive. In some ways they make the invisible visible. They make the air movements visible. They make the subtle movements in shadow and light more visible to the viewer. Commissioned work is a large part of my practice, and I really love doing it. As an artist, I love to do commissions because it gives me the opportunity to work one-on-one with my client and get to know them personally and do work that is much more meaningful to them. It's a process that takes a little bit longer, it takes a little more work, but it can be very collaborative and very enriching for both myself and the client. In the end, I think everybody ends up with something they're really proud and feel a part of. I feel like my work in a lot of ways bridges that gap between nature and architecture, history and mythology. I tend to use very simple forms in my sculpture: circles, post and lintel structures, spirals, very kind of basic elements. The forms I use are very symbolic. They transcend time and culture. I think that's why I'm drawn to them, because they are just really ancient and they're deep within us, and people respond to them at a subconscious level without even knowing why they like it. They like those forms. So I use them. I find them to be very powerful in their simplicity.